You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
All right, folks, here it is, a bonus mini episode of 91 Reasons. Keeping up our Vegas theme, we made mention on the other show, the main show, about a couple of trips Rachel and I had taken without the children. So we're going to just go through those because there might be some details that maybe the kids don't need to be chiming in on. They can hear it later on in life or download it, but when you find out about Rachel and Tobey Maguire, maybe it's not something you bring up in an entire room full of people. But like I said, we do love Las Vegas, even though, strangely, like it bears repeating, that we're not drinkers, smokers, or gamblers of much degree. Rachel enjoys occasional Bud Light, and I enjoy occasional penny slots. But in the 20-plus years of going to Las Vegas, I have never sat down at a card table. The closest I've ever come to anything other than slot machines or very rarely video poker is the giant Wheel of Fortune, and not the game show, but the Wheel of Fortune where you're playing odds and the lady spins the wheel and looks at a little mirror to see what the winning combination is. But that's fun because it takes a while and your money goes a little longer. But there's something in the, and you know this is why they do it, there's something in the video game upbringing that I had that finds those video slot machines so appealing. Because not only are they video game-esque, but they're branded with characters and movies that I enjoy. So everything about it is designed at this moment in time for my generation. Star Trek, Willy Wonka, Star Wars, Back to the Future, you name it, there's a slot machine for it. And some of them, like the weirdo Star Trek one, gives you like a PIN number so you can track your status and go to more alien worlds. Like, that's so video game. And I know that they're even working on more advanced slot machines trying to capitalize, because my generation played Atari and Intellivision and ColecoVision, and I got a Nintendo late in the 80s. But after that, I started dating and going out, and video games were fun, but they weren't a lifelong obsession for me. I enjoy them every once in a while, but I know that the current generation of young men, like, that's their hobby, their pastime. They come home from work and they sit down to 3 or 4 hours of online multiplayer video games. And you know what? I don't get it. I know that that's, for some people, that's their thing. I don't get that. After about playing 15, 20 minutes of Grand Theft Auto, a game that I really enjoy, I find myself thinking of all the things I could be doing with my time that's more productive, more creative. Episodes. If I'm going to watch TV, I should watch something so I can do an episode on it. You know, I should be working on my novels. There are a million other things to do. So I don't think that the video game gene stayed with me. Not the way it is with my kids or my daughter, who can play Little Big Planet for hours on end and talk to people all over the country. She was just playing the other day, telling the little girl on the other end, "You're my best friend," a person she's never met or seen. Simply a voice. What the heck? But I do enjoy going to Las Vegas. I love the vibe. I love hanging out. We're going to bring Rachel in here so we can talk about all the couple of trips we've made without the children. There's at least been 3 or 4. But we'll go through them pretty quickly just to, do it. She's funny. Rachel sat down and she's like, "Now, I can't do a 2-hour show." And I was like, well, those 2-hour shows are the exception, not the rule. First off, normally I can't talk that long, and only when I have co-hosts can I keep my voice strong for 2 hours. And more importantly, I don't have the storage space on Podomatic to hold 2-hour episodes. I'm going to burn through my storage too quickly. So I have to keep most of the episodes at an hour so I can double my output as far as number of episodes that are going up. But yeah, we've gone to Vegas quite a bit. The first trip, other than the one we had that we talked about in the episode, was we went in 1999 and stayed at Boulder Station. That was a good time. We we took the Greyhound bus to get there, and I would advise anybody listening to never ever do that. Not only was the bus driver rude and yelled at people, like he actually yelled, like it was a character in a sitcom, you know, but it took, how long did it take? 8 hours to get there.
At least, yeah.
Eight friggin' long hours to get there. And you finally get into Vegas and you see the Strip, and we're so used to driving and having that magic moment of driving down the Strip and having fun. And the bus driver doesn't do that. He takes all the side streets and you end up downtown at the Greyhound station. And we had booked at Boulder Station, which I didn't know was all the way in the far off regions of Las Vegas. So we ended up having to take a cab that cost us $20 freaking dollars. Not the most well planned out trip,
No.
but we had a good time.
Yeah, of course we did.
But you end up having to take the shuttles everywhere. And again, if you're used to that going to Vegas, it's fine. You can learn the shuttle system, make it work for you. Most of them are free anyways. But for people like us who are used to taking a car, it can be really stifling.
I prefer the car. There's no other way to go to Vegas. I like to be able to do what I want to do and branch out off the Strip and do other things.
Yeah, well, you're very big on going off the Strip to the malls, the Toys R Us's,
Yes.
the thrift shops, and while I find that fun, there does reach a point where you just go, you know, we could be doing this at home.
But it's new. It's different than the one you have at home.
Yeah, but it's familiar but new, and I just would rather stick to all the things they don't have back home, and that's why you go to Vegas.
Well, it used to be that way. They used to not have a Savers here. We only got that when we went to Vegas. They finally opened one here.
Yeah, so when they open a casino down the street, we don't have to go to Vegas at all.
No, but I'm just saying, like now, if I go to Vegas, Savers is off the list, where before it was one of the top things.
Yeah, well, you also took us on one trip to a flea market.
That was fun. It was different.
Indoor swap meet.
It was
Go ahead.
educating.
Use all your adjectives. Because
the culture was new to the children.
Yeah, I'll use one adjective. Terrifying.
A little scary, but they had some cool stuff.
The kids were terrified.
But they even found some, like, they were into all that weird stuff
They
back
found
then.
Pokemon stuff. Pokemon stuff. Like, I just remember we had rented a Ford Flex to get there, and I just knew it was going to get stolen. Like, that's how bad a neighborhood it was. I mean, that's indicative of Las Vegas in general, though. You go 10 feet off the Strip, and suddenly everything is completely terrifying. You know, they start making those, and people are walking around in cloaks, and you're like, wait, I got to get back to the Strip. I got to get back to the familiarity and the cameras and the security.
But again, that's where we differ, because I lived in Vegas for 2 years during my childhood. So it has a different meaning.
Yeah, see, I don't have any of that
me.
affinity for it.
It has a home feel to me that you don't get. You get vacation vibe only.
No, there's no home field in Vegas.
You have memories there. I have places. You know, Continental, 49-cent breakfast at midnight.
Now, we did one time go to Silver Dollar City, which was across from the Stardust, and that was one of the last places to get the $1.99 steak and egg breakfast. But it was a dive. I mean, some of those places were torn down because they were just seedy and divey and scary.
But again, it reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah, I say it in like such a hushed, ominous tone, and you're like, yeah, oh yeah, it was seedy. Like that's weird. Don't you think that's weird?
No.
But okay, the big trip we took. The first big one was 2001, and it was November. I think it was November. And I was a big reader of Maxim Magazine. Like, that was my thing. I mean, you look at it today, and it's a terrible, cheesy magazine.
Well, there's nothing to it. It's paper thin.
No,
now.
but when I used to read it, it was thick. Each issue was like a Sears Christmas
Well,
catalog.
It was the first girly magazine besides Playboy. I mean, it wasn't nude, but it gave you pretty much everything else.
Yeah, it was a men's lifestyle magazine. And their website, this is, because remember, in '99, the internet exploded. And everybody had to have a website. So Maxim had a pretty detailed for the time website.
It was your Chive then.
Yeah, it was exactly.
You have Chive now.
Yeah, and what they did was they had all these online contests you could enter. And I went through this period where, since there weren't, I mean, the internet was popular, but it wasn't saturated like it is now. So you could enter contests and actually win them. And I remember winning a lot of wizard contests and Toy Fair magazine.
You're just lucky. You win everything.
Contests are the thing. Well, because a lot of people think, I'm not going to win, so I won't enter. I think, hey.
No, I tried that approach, and I still don't win.
No.
You win.
The approach is, hey, it costs nothing. So that's why I enter all those Facebook contests, and I get prizes delivered. Like, that's just part of the thing.
But I enter them too. I don't win.
Well, I've won a few times. So I got an email from Maxim Magazine that looked like spam, and I almost threw it away.
Oh, my gosh.
But I clicked on it, and the more I read, the more I believed what it said was that we had won a trip to Las Vegas on Maxim. So me being the skeptic that I am and things being, now that's too good to be true. My favorite magazine, I won a contest, and they're going to fly us to Las Vegas. So I called New York. I called New York straight away, and I said, I want to speak to somebody mentioned in the email or somebody to do with either the website or the contest. And the woman on the other end of the phone was like, no, you're the winner, Jeff. You are flying to Vegas the day after tomorrow. And I just remember
there was no warning.
No, it was a day and a half later, and I said, Are you kidding me? Really? And Rachel wasn't sure she wanted to go. So at the time I was going to take my friend Trent. And the woman on the
because
phone,
it was last minute.
It was last minute.
We had a baby. We had a young child. So
right, because you got to come up with childcare.
Yeah.
So the woman on the phone got on with Rachel and said, look, you need to go with your husband to this. This is going to be the most exciting trip to Vegas you're ever going to have, and you've got to go with him. So your mom came over and stayed.
Yes.
And stayed with Luke because Austin wasn't born yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh no, Austin was 1. No, it's not 2001.
Was
so,
Austin born?
Yeah, he was from 2000, honey.
Wow, that was a lot for my mom to take on, which might
Yeah,
have been
he was an
part
infant.
of the reason.
So we got dropped off at the airport, and tickets were waiting. And for the first time ever, I flew to Las Vegas, which, if you've never flown to Vegas from California, is the coolest thing ever. Because, again, I'm used to that 4.5, 5-hour drive to Las Vegas. It's a little shorter now that we live in Riverside. We've lopped off 30 to 40 minutes of the trip. But it's still quite a trip. Now, when you fly to Vegas, you get in your seat, the plane goes up in the air, they serve you a drink, the plane lands, and you're in Las Vegas. Like, it's that quick. It's like 40 minutes or less. Truly amazing. And when we got there was a limo waiting for us. Just like in the movies, the guy had a sign that said, Tucker. I was like, we've arrived. We're in the big time now. So the limo took us to...
That was my first limo ride, by the way.
That was your first limo ride ever? You didn't go to prom in a limo?
I didn't go to high school.
You didn't go to winter formal?
No.
See, I went to all that with limos.
I went to 8th grade dances, but we didn't really do limos that soon.
No, I took... who did I take in a limo? I took...
Danielle?
No, Danielle got the RV.
Oh, that's right.
Anna, this chick Anna,
Oh, yeah.
I took in a limo. And before we got together, I took a girl to the Morrissey concert in a limo. Like, I thought that was the cool thing to do to
Was
get a
that
limo.
Mindy?
No, that was Angie.
Oh.
Limo, man. So we got a limo ride from McCarran Airport to the Rio. And the Rio's great. Now, we had never stayed at the Rio before. We haven't stayed since. But the Rio is every room's a suite. So when we checked in, they gave us VIP treatment. It was a VIP check-in, do you remember? It was not at the regular desk. It was the VIP desk. And they gave us each a platinum card for casino play. And the room was huge. It had a couch, a living room, a bedroom, huge double bathroom, and we just felt like this is the greatest thing ever. And as soon as we got in the room, the girl from Maxim contacted us on the phone and said, we're going to take you to dinner. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the model girls, Maxim model.
And the funny part was, they said, we'll meet you at the restaurant in like 25 minutes, and you weren't ready.
No. Yeah, I remember that.
So I just said, well, they'll wait on us. So we got dressed and looked our best and went downstairs at the Rio to a restaurant called Mask.
You remember the name?
Oh, yeah. I remember everything. That's why I do this show. Have you been listening? I remember everything.
I don't remember anything.
And they bought us it was like a Asian fusion restaurant. And the big thing was, this was the first time we'd ever seen anybody eat those green bean things, you pull out of the little pods. Like, that was a big deal. Oh, these are brand new. You got to try these. And I'm of the thing where, and you can attest to this, every time we go to Las Vegas, I have to try something new, food-wise. Yeah. There's no point in paying $40 for a buffet if you're just going to eat the same thing that you always do. So I always try to eat something new. And that's where I found that I really enjoy sushi and a lot of other unusual things that I would never have tried back home, because when you're paying full price for something to try, you're taking a risk. But at a buffet, if you don't like it, you just get something else.
I remember the night in the company, but I don't think I liked the restaurant.
No, it wasn't your thing. It wasn't your thing. It was too weird for you.
Yeah.
But I love it because weird food's fantastic for me. And so there were about 5 or 6 of these really pretty young women, and they all worked for Maxim in some capacity. And they just thought we were the funniest ever because we were not the typical Maxim reader that they had envisioned. They envisioned like a big dopey football guy screaming and yelling, and maybe his big dopey friend crushing a beer can on his head. And instead, they got a groundling, educated comedian and his wife who doesn't get his jokes. So that was a lot of fun. So what happened was they made plans with us for the big party that night, and that's why they flew us there. They were in town for a big fight at Mandalay Bay. Now, they didn't take us to the fight, which is interesting because those tickets must have been $1,200 or $1,300 a piece, and I get why they didn't take us. And I don't know, I wouldn't have gone anyways, I watch fights on TV once in a while, but I'm not a big sports guy, so that doesn't appeal to me. But what happened was they had arranged with through Maxim, with the Rio Hotel, to have a private party in a place out back called the Palazzo Suites. Now, the Palazzo Suites were never offered to the public. They were only available for high rollers. And the rumor we heard was you needed to have $1 million credit line with the hotel before they'd even consider letting you stay in one of these places. And they were like 4 or 5 mansions stuck together with a central hub and like a 24-hour concierge who just sat there in case you needed something or somebody needed you. And it was pretty amazing. So the funny part was we got all dressed up.
But we still at that point had no idea what we were going to.
No, we had no idea yet. So we got all dressed up and we hung out in Vegas for the day, just a few hours. And we finally went down to the Palazzo Suites for the party. Now, there's a giant line of people, and it's all people dressed to the hilt, girls in little tiny dresses and way too high heels, guys in pimp suits with canes. Like, everybody's way overdressed, but nobody's getting in. And we walked up to the guy at the front who had the book, the list. And we watched a guy like this Cedric the Entertainer black guy and his date slip the guy a $100 bill. And the guy looked at the $100 bill, looked at the guy and said, "I'm not going to be able to help you, sir," and turned him away. So I walked up with Rachel and I said, "Hi, Tucker, party of 2, we're on the list." And the guy scans the list and he goes, "Right this way, sir." And you should have seen the line of people, because here's 2 dorks walking into this party that they're not able to get in. So we walked in, and like I said, we saw the concierge, and then we got into the party itself. And let me tell you, it was unbelievable. What was your first impression, Rachel?
Well, my first impression is the first star I saw, and it's one of the hugest stars in the world. And he's sitting there in a baseball hat, hanging out at a party, and I was just like, this is happening. If he's here, everybody's here.
And who was that?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio was standing there or sitting there, and we would
Yeah.
see him all night.
Throughout the night, all
He was
night.
pretty incognito.
Oh, I was rubbing shoulders when I was having a beer. I accidentally would bump into him just so I could say I bumped into him.
But that set the tone like, oh, this is a thing. This party's a thing.
Party. Mm-hmm.
Now the thing about DiCaprio though was he wasn't what you think he's going to be like at a party. He wasn't loud.
No, he wasn't partying
He
at
was
all.
he wasn't making
Nope.
a scene. He was just hanging out.
And there was plenty of people doing all that. There
Oh,
was
sure.
a wild-ass party.
There was a lot of people peacocking. So we made our way through all the rooms of this party, scoping out all the celebrities, and we ended up seeing Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Arnold, Drew Carey, Tiny Lister, who played who was Zeus during the wrestling. You know Tiny Lister? Tiny Lister's the guy in The Dark Knight who tells the prison guy, "Give me the detonator, which you should have gave me an hour ago." And then he throws it out the window. Like, that's the guy. He's a huge black guy. The nicest guy ever. And we saw Danny Masterson from that 70s show. We saw
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
Paris Hilton.
yeah. Well, of course, if DiCaprio's there, Tobey Maguire's there. Now, this was just a few
Right
months
Spider-Man.
before Spider-Man. So he was already a star from all his movies, Cider House Rules, Wonder Boys.
But he wasn't huge.
But he wasn't big.
I was aware of him, but I didn't even care.
So I walked up and got a picture with him, and I was like, dude, you are going to be the most amazing Spider-Man ever. Because they went with the guy who was kind of nerdy, and it was really nice to see. And he was very down to earth.
He was so friendly.
And here's the other thing with the party. There was everything you could want to eat or drink, and it was all included. There was no muss, no fuss. So as we're going through the night, I'm eating all these amazing things, and Rachel is getting progressively more drunker and drunker and drunker, right?
I'm a cheap date. If it's free, it's on.
So we're standing in the party, and she's had quite a few, and we look over, and there's this, now she already mentioned her name, but there's this little girl dressed all in pink with a Hello Kitty backpack, and everybody's...
She had a tiara on. I was like, what the heck? And she was posing.
Oh, she was posing.
like
Everybody's taking her
crazy
picture.
for the
And
red carpet
I
area.
looked at Rachel. Now, I'm a big pop culture nerd. I know everybody. I said, who is that? Why are they taking her picture?
Her fandom.
Before she hit it big.
Before she hit it big.
It was Paris Hilton. And I said, who is that? Because it's not like she's really hot. Like they're taking her picture because she's unbelievably hot. Because she looked like a skeleton.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't that impressed. It wasn't a big deal. But all through the night, like the Maxim girls are dancing with us, and we're meeting celebrities. I talked to Drew Carey and told him how much I loved.
You talked to him for a long time.
Well, we were talking improv.
I had to go wander off during that
We're
conversation.
talking about, because he was at the time hosting the American version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? So we got a picture with Drew Carey and Tom Arnold and Orlando Jones from all the 7-Up commercials. Remember him?
He was so friendly. He was fun to dance with, too. I had a good time with him.
And then you got hit on
All night.
by Matthew Lillard.
No idea why.
From
he was
Scream.
Like 8 feet taller than me. He just kept looking down at me and trying to look into my shirt and asking me the strangest questions.
Yeah, and I was like,
I didn't know who he was. I was just like, can you Google this guy? Because I mean,
Well, I
I'm
knew who he-
someone
why can't-
cool hitting on me here.
well, you were drunk, though, so I would go, it's the guy from Scream, the
and then
killer.
I'd forget 2 seconds
and then she'd
later.
go,
Yeah,
well,
I believe that.
I go, honey, it's the guy from Scream. And you'd go, uh-huh. Well, who is it? What's the guy from Scream, honey? Well, I don't know who he is, though. He was Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo movie. What? Like, okay, never mind. You don't want to mess with him. So
I only remember 2 real true moments from that party.
Rachel's getting drunker and drunker.
Yes.
And the first moment is Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray. And
I
we
think
have
that was the second moment.
Well,
I was pretty drunk by
I'm
then.
mixing them up because the other one's better.
Yeah, but I was drunk by Mark.
You were drunk at Mark McGrath, and we have photo proof because you took a picture with him where he's smiling and
I'm so drunk.
you're talking his
My
ear
mouth
off.
is open and
Yeah,
Oh.
and like he was
I'll let you post it, but it is not a flattering picture.
he was in the bedroom where they had like a TV that came
Yeah.
out of the headboard, and he's just holding court with some of the
a whole bunch of models.
most beautiful women you've ever
Yeah.
seen, and then you're going,
You know, wait a minute. Those girls were great. They weren't catty or mean. They thought I was the funniest shit ever. We all had a good time in that bedroom, okay? He was great too. He loved
What does it
me.
mean you all had a good time in that bedroom?
We were just hanging out, talking,
Okay.
and drinking, but he was so much fun. And he just kept asking if, because I said I'd recently seen him somewhere. I'm like, I think it was somewhere in Anaheim. And I don't remember much of the conversation, but I guess the venue of where he played was not in the same city that I kept saying it was in. So he thought that was the funniest shit ever. Like, he just all night with that joke. We had a joke, and it was so funny. I wish I wasn't so drunk so I could remember it, but I know it had to do with those things.
And you wonder why I remember everything.
I know.
Because I don't drink, ever. So throughout the party, there was all kinds of little things that are around. So I started taking the magazines and the sign placards that were everywhere.
Yeah.
I still have them because I was like, I took Palazzo matchbooks, I took Maxim magazines, I took Maxim signs, Maxim business cards. I was like, I felt like Mouth in the bottom of the well. I'm taking them back. I'm taking them all back. So the other big moment was, if you've ever been to any kind of event, from theme park to concert, for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with women. I mean, that's the understatement of the year, right? But I don't understand anything about women culture or woman's culture. But why, maybe you can explain, why is there always a restroom line? Like, why can't women just go in the stall, do their business, and get out? Now, you can't say, like in the last few years, you could point right to cell phones and go, women get in there, sit down, and check their Twitter, Facebook, email,
do.
right? But this has been going on since time began.
But women wear a lot more than men, especially if you're at an event like this. Do you know what it's like to go to the bathroom with pantyhose or a bodysuit or an outfit that's not just unzip and go?
But that's not the case. That is not the case. It's
time-consuming.
No, I think it's a psychological thing. Like when women know that somebody's waiting for their parking place, they take twice as long to back out of a parking space. And I think when women knows another woman is waiting for the stall, they're like, look, I waited, you're waiting. And I think it's just a vicious cycle of not wanting to be nice to people. Like, I don't get that. But women are not nice to each other anyways. The old joke is when a guy meets another guy in person, he's like, hey, what's up, scumbag? You're a scumbag. Then when the guy leaves, he's like, hey, that's the nicest guy ever. But women, when they meet face to face, are like, oh my God, I love you. You're so sweet. And then the woman leaves, they're like, she is such a jerk. Oh my God. You know what she did to Becky? Like, I don't understand that. And I think the women's restroom is the ultimate public display of how you guys feel for each other. Because you know the women in line have got to go. And nobody rushes. Wouldn't you rush?
And sometimes people are puking. You have to
People
allow,
are puking.
You have to allow puking time. Especially if there's two girls in the stall, one's holding the other girl's hair for.
For God's sake.
These are
Oh
not
my
things
God.
you experienced.
So
that I
what?
have.
So this happened at the Maxim party as well. Even though there were many bathrooms, and out of the pool area, and the pool had a big rock waterfall, and it had large changing rooms and restrooms for the people who stay there. Not public. This is not like a public place, but it was still like they had multiple stalls and everything. So that if you were having a party out there, everybody could, go to the bathroom and not have an issue. But of course, the women's line is out the door, and you had to go.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
I went in the men's. There was no line. There was nobody in there but one guy. So I had to go. And that one guy happened to be someone very famous. He was Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man. Before he was Spider-Man, of course.
So you go in the bathroom and you do your business, and then you collapsed in between the urinals.
Oh, I just sat there and talked to him.
No. No one sits in between
I
urinals.
needed a break.
No.
I needed a moment to collect myself.
So you collapsed drunkenly in between two urinals.
Like against the mirror area where he was using the bathroom. He started a conversation with me. So of course I'm going to stand there talking to him.
What was he supposed to do? There's a woman in the men's restroom.
But he was peeing the entire time we talked.
Yeah. So you saw him naked.
Yeah, but I was too drunk to really go, oh, I should probably look at it, you know?
Oh my
It
God.
is Tobey Maguire.
It's a family show.
But he was very friendly.
He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Of course he was
said he would have
friendly.
done the same thing. He He's like, oh, I don't mind at all. Of course you should come over here.
So there you go, folks. There's the exclusive right there. And it wasn't the only bit of male nudity in the party.
Oh, no.
Because as soon as you came out of the bathroom, the drummer from No Doubt got up on the rock waterfall, took all of his clothes off, and cannonballed into the pool.
I think he was naked the rest of the night.
Yeah, he just stood there naked. And then I got a picture with the guitar player.
He was very nice, yes.
Tony. So yeah, the Maxim party was one for the books. And I should say that we had flown to Las Vegas just a month after 9/11. So it was a little weird. The security was really tight. We felt safer than ever in the air. So there was no issues there. And we have pictures from that trip where they had draped American flags all over the casinos outside to show solidarity for the country. And the party raged on until 4 and 5 in the morning. I remember the Maxim girls came up to us at the very end. They were on their way to a strip club, and did we want to go? And we actually turned them down.
Why didn't we go?
We didn't go, and it was actually a reason why we didn't go.
I was too drunk?
No, well, you were very drunk, but also we didn't know where the strip club was. And the idea of being stranded that far from the Rio and having to take a cab back was pretty daunting because we didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we opted not to go. And like, who wants to go to a strip club if you don't have hundreds of dollars to wave around, right? So they all left. We stayed and partied and finally stumbled out of the palazzo in the wee hours of the morning, taking as much of it as we could with us. The big rumor of the night was that Britney Spears was going to show up. And this is at the height of her fame.
But she did.
No, her dancers showed up. She never actually showed. This was the night she taped.
Oh, she was there.
This was the night she taped her HBO special, the big concert, and she was supposed to come over to the party, but somebody said something to her, upset her. I don't know. All the backup dancers showed up. I know because I stood in the entryway waiting for her to come in because I was like, I want to see what Britney Spears really looks like, but no, she never showed up. But we met a lot of celebrities, took a lot of pictures. Didn't ask for autographs because I'm not an autograph guy.
We were the only non-celebrities, so to have asked for autographs would have been weird there.
Yeah,
Everybody
it was more about just hanging
stars
out.
hanging out. They wasn't an event where they felt like they had to be a star. They weren't.
Yeah, and this is before cell phones were prevalent, so the pictures were with an actual camera.
So they're not wonderful.
Yeah. Well, they're 2001 JPEGs. They're archaic compared to what we can take now. But it was a good time, a really good trip. Maxim took off, but our flight didn't leave for 2 more days or so. So we took shuttles around, hung out, enjoyed the city, and had a great time.
Enjoyed the room. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good time. And after that, we did mostly trips with the kids. But we did go for our anniversary, 2008, where we flew because we got a package deal at the Signature, which is located behind the MGM Grand. It's part of their property. You have to take a moving walkway that's incredibly long to get to the Signature because it's so far back they don't want you to have to walk it because it would be a detriment to the property. But the cool thing about it is we go to check in there and our room overlooks the whole property and we could see the remnants of the theme park.
I remember that.
They still had some of the buildings out back that are being used for like offices and stuff. They were like, well, why retheme them? We'll just have our offices in like a Bavarian hut. So that was interesting. And that was a fun trip. We had a good time. That was the time we went to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And we didn't have a car, so we had to take shuttles again. But the monorail's up and running. And I remember we did buy a monorail pass. But the thing with the Vegas monorail is it's not cheap. No, it's really expensive to try to use it as your transportation. I mean, you're going to end up paying $10 or $15 a day or more, and it only goes on one side. So if you want to get to the other side, you're stuck walking across. But we were there in the middle of summer, in the middle of the hottest weather ever. And I remember I had heat. I got a heat stroke. Like I almost ended up in the hospital.
And by chance, your sister was in town.
Yeah, that's right. Jennifer
with
was
the
in
girls
town.
And friends, yeah.
And we hung out at the Hooters Casino.
We did. We had a whole night with them.
Wasn't there like a Prince cover band or something?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That was another night I got drunk.
Yeah, you got
But
drunk.
I only drink when I go to Vegas without the kids, so I make up for it. It's not very often, so I have years to make up every time I go do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to make up. You got to drink to make up for those nights of not drinking.
We met Wendell and a whole bunch of people. We were all
Oh, it was
partying
great.
at
Everybody
Hooters,
was drunk but
remember?
me.
I just remember we ended up on the strip, like walking around looking for Kayla to get a tattoo or something. I don't think it ever happened. And then we ended up having breakfast somewhere, and I remember that part because I started sobering up by then. But none of us had a car, so we were literally walking around down the street.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun in the seedier parts of Las Vegas. And I should say that we have actually been to the Pawn Stars Pawn Shop, which is nothing like it looks on TV.
We
It's
have a picture of you in front of it.
the tiniest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then you got a tattoo at a tattoo parlor
not talk about
across from the way there. Biggest waste of time ever.
I just wanted a tattoo. They had a huge sign that said $40 any tattoo. How do you say no to that?
I just say no. I don't have any tattoos, so it's easy for me
But
to
it was
say
during
no.
one of my phases, and it's one of the only tattoos I regret because it doesn't even represent what it was supposed to, anyways.
Anyways, what happens in Vegas is supposed to stay in Vegas, honey. We've never been to the Neon Graveyard. I'd like to do that sometime. You have to make an appointment, and it is $10 or $15 a person. But talk about photo ops, huh?
Yeah,
That would be
I
a lot
wanna
of
do
fun.
that.
We've done the Las Vegas Natural History Museum, the Children's Museum. We've done all that. The Children's Museum is funny because it's located downtown at the library, right next to where they feed the homeless people. So you have to bring your kids in past, I'm not kidding, 50 or 60 of the drunkest, dirtiest people you've ever seen.
There's a weird location for that.
We have walked the strip and seen the Minions from Despicable Me, Darth Vader, the Stormtrooper, Vegas Showgirls, Playboy Bunnies, sexy cops, sexy nurses, every kind of costume imaginable. And I'll let you in on a secret that you probably already know, so it ain't much of a secret. The people who wear those costumes are not anybody you would ever want to take a picture with. Now, some of them who are the face characters, like we took a picture with the guy who looked like Mr. Spock, and he was great.
He was great.
The guy who looked like De Niro from Casino, he was great. But like the Minions and, okay, it's the Minions and Hello Kitty in particular. I can remember watching them go around the corner for like a smoke, and when they took their costumes off, they were some of the worst crack addict looking people you've ever seen, of all races. Just like trailer park, I just got out of prison and now I'm dressed as a minion kind of people. So I don't really like to associate with those people. Not my thing. I don't get the whole I'm going to put a costume and run around and earn money. And then they're really belligerent about it if you don't pay
we do it
them.
at conventions.
Yeah, we go to conventions for costume people, not the Vegas Strip. You know, we like people who actually launder their costume once in a while, so that Hello Kitty doesn't look like she's just been beat up
We
and
like
raped.
people that wear a Hello Kitty costume because that's their fandom, not because they're getting $1.
Yeah, right. And we want Hello
That's
Kitty
the
to look
cosplay.
fresh as a daisy, not as if she's just been sexually attacked by Garfield. Because, Garfield's down on his luck. Very sad story. But anyways, any last thoughts about Las Vegas before we wrap this up?
Let's go.
You want to go. Yeah, you talk about Vegas long enough, you end up wanting to go. I'm sure when Rick West gets this episode, he's going to be jumping up and down. He's going in in next week or so. So.
No fair.
But the minute you come home, you want to go back again because it's so crazy. And I can't imagine living there. We have talked a lot about moving there.
Yeah, I beg for it yearly.
I just think that your air conditioning bill during the summer would be $1,000. And second,
Riverside too.
And second,
at least you have Vegas. What do we have in Riverside?
Doesn't it seem like the decadence factor would be overwhelming? Like there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. The reason Vegas is special is that we only go once or twice a year.
No.
If you had it every day, it would get to be tiring, wouldn't it?
No.
Not at all?
No, not at all. We would be at home, bored watching TV, and my dad would be like, let's go grab a 50-cent breakfast. Let's go take a walk around Sam's Town.
Now, see, I like to do challenges for myself when I'm in Vegas. Like, for a while it was, how many casino coin cups can I get? How many moist towelettes can I get? And last time it was, how many of the porn trading cards can I get from the guys on the street who flip them? Those guys? There's just always that free factor of crazy stuff. And, we try to get every kind of coupon we can get, every kind of angle we can work to I mean, because we don't have any money. And, you go with a family of 5. We're able to go with a family of 5 and with $1,000 cover hotel, gas, gambling, souvenirs, and food. Like, that's an amazing trip. You couldn't do that at Disney World. You couldn't do that at Islands of Adventure. You can only do that in Las Vegas if you know how to work the city, which we're pretty good at, working the city. There was one time, it was the Maxim trip, where we found a coupon for a Haagen-Dazs gift certificate. If you bought a $20 Haagen-Dazs gift certificate, you got a free sundae. Now, the sundae was $8. So what we did was we had the sundae, we enjoyed it, and then the rest of the weekend we just used that Haagen-Dazs coupon for our dessert. This was obviously before Starbucks. I mean, now Starbucks is everywhere. That's just what you go to, like Austin said. Although the one at the Luxor charges for water cups. We learned that with the kids. Yes. And I was like, you guys can go to the drinking fountain. I'm not paying $1 for water. Ridiculous. But, the city that never sleeps is Vegas. They can say that about New York, but Vegas, man, it's open 24 hours. You can roll in any time. The kids have had so much fun going. We were there one time when we saw a casino called Bourbon Street one day, and then we went back the next day, they had blown it up. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
One day it was there. The next day, I was like, wait a minute. Luke, wasn't there a building there? And he's like, they blew it up. I was like, that is cool. We even like the scary walkways that connect MGM Grand to New York to Excalibur, even though for some reason there's always black guys wanting to sell me their rap CD. And they do this move where they just walk up and they hand you the CD. So while you're looking at it, they tell you what it is, and then they tell you how much it costs. And all I do is I go, dude, look at me. You think I listen to this crap music? And they're like, hey, man, this is my music. I'm like, don't bother me with your crap. It's crap. I don't want your music. Sell it to some other sucker.
I guess he doesn't listen to rap.
I don't listen to rap.
Macklemore.
That's white guy rap. It's different. I don't need to know about what it was like growing up in the hood. I grew up in Norwalk. There's no hood in Norwalk.
There is now.
Well, there is now, but not back in the 80s. But, those walkways are funny. Like, those are the walkways where Elizabeth Shue got raped and leaving Las Vegas, and nothing has changed since. There's people selling water. And the other thing in Vegas, like right at the very end, let's just bring up this. What's with the people? How long are you in town, sir? Would you like to watch a timeshare video and get free tickets to a show? Like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I always tell them we're leaving that day, and then they leave us alone. Or I'll come up with something to annoy them. Because they're used to being ignored or insulted. And I actually come up with a way to annoy them and throw it right back in their face. Like, just leave me alone. Just leave us alone with your crap. We don't want it. But we do love Las Vegas. Can't wait to go next month to see what's new in the city. I'm praying that White Castle is open at Casino Royale. But even if it's not, there's always a million things to do. So, you ready to wrap it up?
Ready to wrap it up.
All right. So, from Sin City, what happens on 91 Reasons stays on 91 Reasons. This is the show we like to call 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?